Welcome everyone to our weekly meeting for our software supply chain security working group. I think the only real agenda item, the point we have to discuss today is just from Slack, where Brian raised the point of getting people assigned out to the different work that we have in progress. So yeah, I don't know if there's a particular preference here for people between these different ones. But it looks like, I know Brian's been working on getting the user experience for assigned container registry images. He's been working on getting that one refined and broken down. We also have some pretty concrete steps that we already feel like we need to take to get cosign support with GitLab. And then the third one is just a generic spike on native signing for images to figure out how we're going to do that. I think there's some ongoing discussion about whether or not we need to stand up a separate OIDC provider in GitLab. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if there are any thoughts or opinions on who takes what across this.
So I actually did post in that Slack thread. I feel I'm still doing a lot of learning for a lot of the terminology that we're using on when it comes to the signing, but I did put my name in for the spike because I felt like I had a lot of room to get caught up there, and as well as doing the actual spike itself. So just initial thought there.
Okay. So yeah, it looks like we've pretty much all assigned out here. Daniel, I think by default, you don't really get a choice because there's only one that has front-end work related to it. So you're on the first one. If Brian's taking that first one, and yeah, so it looks like Aaron, if you take the spike, that should pretty well put at least one person on everything. Okay, great. Are there any other topics that the group wants to discuss today?
I guess I'm wondering if it's part of the scope of this working group to stand up the new OIDC provider, because I'm thinking like it seems like we might have to based on comments from Marshall in order to have like a good setup, but I'm thinking in the interim, we can use the existing one, and once there is a new provider specifically for CI, we can transition to that one. But in that case, I feel like maybe it's up to the CI groups to handle that rather than us, because if we're okay with using the existing one in the meantime, then we might not really be dependent on that.
Yeah, so I think we need to figure out if it's required or not is really the open question. And it seems like there's some disagreement in that thread about whether or not it truly is required. So we just need to formulate our own opinion about, is this required or is this not required? Is this a must-have for security, or is it just sort of a convenient nice to have for separation of duties, but it's not really required? If it is required, then yes, it's completely within our scope and we would be the ones to do that work. If it's just a nice to have and it's not actually required for security purposes, then that would be outside of the working group. So that's really what would make that determination. And I'm afraid the technical details on this one are a little bit beyond me. I'm not sure I understand the security implications of using a dedicated OIDC provider for this versus reusing the one that we already have. I'm not sure if that's acceptable or not. So that's really the question that all depends on.
Okay, that makes sense. I don't really see a strong argument right now for needing it. It seems to me like it's a nice to have, but I guess we'll see how that discussion unfolds.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess, Aaron, if you're taking the lead on that spike, I think we'd probably look to you as the lead DRI for making that decision. And sounds like there definitely is some debate in that. If you disagree, that's okay. You just need to, post that you disagree with the other comments there, and this is your official stance and like supporting reasons for that. So at some point, we're going to have to make a call there in the decision so we can unblock that and get moving forward.
Okay, yeah, I will spend probably the next 24 hours making sure that I'm making an educated call there.
I think we should make that decision sooner rather than later, because deciding whether or not to use the existing OIDC provider blocks the cosign integration. Like basically all of the cosign work depends on having an OIDC provider integrated into Fulcio, which is the signing authority, so that cosign can do keyless signing.
Yeah, I agree. We should try to make that sooner rather than later. So yeah, from a product perspective, I would just say like the product requirement is that we need to be able to sign things securely. And I'm afraid I don't have more details than that. So I'm really looking to you folks in engineering to help work out the details there. But yeah, I agree. Sooner rather than later would be great. All right, and Nathan, you've got an item here to discuss.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, now that we're getting, excuse me, now that we're getting into the work proper and starting to, get deeper into it, do we want to set up some sort of asynchronous stand-up updates in the channel? Whether that's, I don't think we need to do daily just yet, but whether the team feel like that's something that we need to do. So we can keep up to date with progress without having to wait for these weekly meetings.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea. Anyone else's thoughts here?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It'll give us a better idea of who's working in what areas as well.
But any, how often do you want this set up?
I think for the security policies group, we did something that makes a lot of sense to me. I think it asks you every day, but you can just fill it out whenever, so you can skip days if you want. And I feel like that's very flexible because you can basically update as often as you want. And I usually go for like minimum once a week type of thing.
Perfect. I can set that up and get that going.
All right. Well, thanks for doing that. Anything else still to discuss though? Great. Well, thanks for the discussion today. Appreciate it, everyone.
Gotcha.
Have a good one.